5:30.
And we're going live in 3, 2, 1. We
Hello.
are live. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Happy December. Again, like I always say, I can't believe we're here already.
But what if people are watching this in July, Jenny? Is it still welcome? Happy December, everybody.
Yeah, there might be some people that do Christmas in July.
We
It's
might.
kind of a thing. We did a Santa Claus one year in the studio, and it sold out in July. We were just like July 25th. We're like, let's do Christmas in July.
Yeah. So, welcome, everybody.
I'm Jenny.
I'm Paul.
And we are Go Box Art Crate.
Yeah, that's what we are.
We are a subscription box company that we also just sell individual art kits if you don't want it to do the subscription.
Yep.
But 2 projects every month, live streams every month, plus some additional videos along the way that are not related to the box. And tonight, we're going to be painting this cutie pie, little winter gnome, to kick off the winter season.
Turn him the other way a little bit so the light hits. There we go. Yeah.
That way, yeah.
Well, you don't have to hide your face. There she is.
So yeah, that's what I'm going to guide you through tonight, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. He's very whimsical. A lot of times allows for little mistakes along the way that end up being an important part of the painting. Happy little accidents, as Bob Ross would call them.
And we're going live again tomorrow night.
We're going live again tomorrow night, and tomorrow night will be Paul's snow globe painting. There we go.
It could be interesting, guys.
Yeah, tomorrow night Paul has an emergency root canal. That is one of those things where you have to get it done in December before your insurance changes, and plus he's having a lot of pain in his tooth.
Oh, it's not bothering me right now, but
That's good.
I'll be finishing up with that about 4 o'clock our time, getting in the car and coming straight here. So I might be drooling and all kinds of fun. I might be a little loopier
We
than
put our
usual.
daughter on alert that she
Yeah.
might be my live stream partner, and I might be teaching Paul's painting
Jenny
tomorrow.
might be teaching and Greta might
I
be
can handle it.
co-piloting. So, but I'm going to do my best to be here, and it could be fun.
Yeah. Well, let's zoom in. Let's get started.
Let's do it. All right. Enough about my tragic teeth. There we go.
Hi, Kim. I
Hey,
see you
Kim.
on there. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about this
shoot.
real quick. He just dropped some wine
I just
on his
dripped
painting.
wine on my painting. Well, it's on my canvas.
It's
so.
white wine though, so it's working.
I guess it's we're getting started on the loopy.
So December is one of my favorite months to do art, and I always end up doing way less than I plan in my head just because so much of it takes time, and then I end up with a lot of Zoom parties for corporations and schools and things. So I don't end up with a ton of extra time to do lots of art projects on this side for the channel, but we did the really cute Santa and Snowman cutouts.
Yep.
And I've enjoyed seeing all of your guys' paintings on our Facebook group page, Go Box Art Crate. Highly recommend you join it. The support there is amazing. A lot of very positive people and people showing off their artwork. Very proud of it. I love it.
I've been really bad about not chiming in.
Yeah, what the heck, Paul?
I just have been kind of like avoiding Facebook as a whole. Just
What's wrong with you?
it's called I'm working.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Little winter gnome, very whimsical. You can change the color of anything going on in here. You can change the skin color. You can make the mittens and hat completely different color. But I'm going to guide you through how to make it exactly like this.
Awesome.
And first off, I'm going to get my brushes. I'm opening up a new pack tonight because I noticed we had one set that was super frayed.
Be afraid.
This is the set that comes in the kit, and it's great. I love it. You can do just about any painting with these 4 brushes.
By the way, real quick, thank you, Debbie. I appreciate the well wishes.
Yeah, thank you. Now, for those of you who've been subscribers for more than 6 months, we can send you a new pack of brushes. Just let us know. Paul's going to set that up on our website, but it's something we've been talking about for a while. So I know after 6 months you might be needing a new set, and just let us know. We'll get you one. So let's start off with a toast. To painting.
To painting.
Cheers. To the holidays. Slowing down, everyone, hopefully. I know we've got only 10 days. But make sure you mix in some relaxation time.
Yeah, for sure. Us too.
Us too. Let's mix the color, and I'm going to use my biggest brush to mix the color, but I'm going to use a smaller brush to paint it on the canvas. So go ahead and take your brush and dip it in your water cup. Brush it gently across the bottom of the cup, just to loosen up those bristles, especially if you're new and you're opening a new pack of brushes. They do have a coating on them that keeps them in shape, and it will dissolve in the water, but it takes just a couple times brushing it across the bottom of the cup. So we're going to make a peach skin tone color, but I'll also show you how to make a darker skin color if you want to do that. So first, I'm going to make a pale orange color. So to make orange with the colors we have on the palette, we want to use probably a lot more yellow than red. The red will really overpower it, and you can end up with coral right away. We want more of a peach. So let's scrape off some yellow, pop it down somewhere on your palette, in the middle, whatever. Now use the corner of your brush and pick up just a dot of red and stir that in. Okay, that was too small. So right away, it's going to turn that color. And I shouldn't say, we're not looking for peach quite yet. White will turn it peach. Right now we're looking for a kind of yellow-orange.
Ooh, I just went way too heavy with the...
Now at this point, if you want to make a darker skin color, you can gradually add little bits of black to it and darken it gradually. And if you need to add a little white to that, you can, but you can adjust it. You can even add bits of blue
That's what I did with mine.
Yeah.
Because one of the portrait painting videos I've watched before talked about using green as one of your undertones.
Oh, that overpowered that. Yeah.
And so I thought, well, adding a little bit of blue, since it's kind of like yellow, might do the same thing.
So I've kind of got goldenrod going on here, and now I'm going to scrape off white.
I have silly putty that's been used to transfer comics too many times.
So stir that around, and if it looks like your gnome's going to be kind of jaundiced, you can add a bit more red to it, and maybe a bit more white. Because you don't really want it super yellow.
Well, I got Chris clean now. Okay, I'm happy with my color.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to make that original skin color. And we're making a bit more than we will need because we are actually sketching the gnome out with this color. So just work at it. It'll take a little adjusting here and there, and you might accidentally add too much red and then have to add more white. It is a process. Just get a color you like.
I'm good.
I think I'm pretty good too. I'm going to hold it. Yeah, that's pretty close. Okay, so you can set this brush aside. We'll probably use it in a minute. Pick up your number 8 brush, or if you're using your own set of brushes, like a 1/4 inch wide brush. Or it can be a round brush too. Dip it in your water, brush it around, dry it off. And let's talk about this big nose. This is about the size of a small potato, like one of those yellow Yukon Gold potatoes, probably thereabouts. I think on the instructions I said it's about 2 inches wide by 1.5 inches high. It's looking at this in person, it's probably, yeah, it's maybe 2.5 by 1.5. Anyway, I do have it kind of tilting just a little bit, so it's not like straight across, and that's up to you. It doesn't matter either way, but I position mine so if I were to draw a dotted line right through the half of it, you would see it goes at a slight angle. That can be a bit of a challenge to think about though, so don't stress yourself out too much. Let's drop down from the top, find the middle, drop down maybe about 7-ish inches, make a mark.
That reminds me.
That's all you need is a mark to start.
Reminds me of a phrase I always used to say when I was teaching in person. I was like, there, I gave you a whole lot of stuff to think about. Now don't think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's go about 2 inches wide. And you can always change anything that we're drawing tonight. You can adjust it. So if I got this and I thought, that's too small, I just draw it bigger. Or even if it's too big, you can draw it smaller. Everything gets painted over, so you just leave it on there until we start filling stuff in. And in fact, even though the instructions that come in your pack, these, they don't show it filled in quite yet. Let's just fill it in while we've got the paint wet on our palette. I want to mix a tiny bit more white in with mine. I'm never quite happy with my Nordic skin color. It's just one of those things that takes a lot of adjusting. I guess.
No, I thought you were talking about yourself being Finnish.
Yeah, that's right. My grandma is full Finnish blood, and yeah, it's we've got a lot of Finnish pride in our household.
If we were painting our daughter's skin tone, it would be 90% white with one little tiny dot of flesh tone added to it.
That's right, and she loves it that way. She likes to be very pale with her makeup look.
When you talk about porcelain-colored skin, that
she is a
her.
porcelain doll, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is just on this hat droops down and covers his eyes. Thank God we don't have to paint eyes, but it also makes it really cute. So just come out like this on either side. So it looks like we're drawing some kind of spider doing some kind of weird dance or something.
I think it looks like...
or a little kid with a ponytail.
It looks like an eyeball right now. With the upper lid.
It could be many things. These come out... Let's see how far. I guess this one goes out a little far. Maybe about between 2.5 and 3 inches on each side. It really doesn't matter if it's bigger or smaller. That's just what I did on the original. Now the hat is pretty fun to draw, and it's actually pretty easy. On this side, I'm going to round out and come up like this. We'll do a curly Q in a minute. And then on this side, it also rounds out. So this is actually shaped a lot like a Hershey's Kiss. It's just Hershey's Kiss don't have that elaborate thing as elaborate as that. So this rounds out and back in. So round it out here. And as you get up in here, it's like you made, look, I made like an elaborate number 2 here. I knew you were going to laugh at that. Let's curl this around. I did a kids video the other day. I was laughing so hard when it was done because there's one part where I talk about using the number 2 brush. And I said something like, it's time for my number 2.
Oh, I caught that in the video.
I bet all the kids, they're doing their event tomorrow. I bet they're going to laugh so hard.
I noticed that.
I meant to do that.
It was one of the few things I actually heard while editing it.
Oh, you could have edited it out. Edited it.
Yeah.
Okay, mustache time. So this one, I made the mustache kind of droopy, but it could curl out. If you wanted to make it look like a smile, you can, or some kind of elaborate fun mustache that curls out into the background, you can change it up. I just sort of had it go with the flow of the beard. Okay, here's what we're gonna do here. You can look, if it helps, you can look at your instruction sheets. Look at this one here, if you have that subscription box. And let's just come down here. Let's draw the beard first. So this is gonna go off the side, right down about here. And this one, I like to make it look like his beard's sort of blowing, but it can be changed up. So you can sketch it out, and later on when you fill it all in, if you don't like it, you can change it up. So this is gonna round out this way. Like, you could just have it flip out the opposite direction if you wanted to. Gosh, my guy is a little bit bigger. Well, it gives him lots of room for Mittens. Now the mustache. This is easy to draw once we've drawn the beard. So you're just gonna come about the middle, bottom middle of the nose.
There's not going to be a lot of gnome.
And come down. No, it's all beard.
No, in mine.
Oh. And then this side is going to come down, and it just sort of goes in line with the beard there. And then we will later on, as you can see, we bump this mustache out. We could round this out right now, actually. That might help us. So round this out. And you can do a little flick here that will fix it up and make it look a little more natural later on. You can even do one here just to test it out.
We'll have a lot of opportunity to kind of make some adjustments to this too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because when we start painting in our background and stuff, we'll be able to.
So let's have a look at my original here. Now this one really goes in at a pretty sharp angle. It's throwing me off a little, and I think I just overdid it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round this out just a bit. And when I color in the background, I can see what I need to do. So this is kind of the nice part about using acrylic paint. Everything gets painted over. And so it's easy to fix up things. And everybody's gnome will have slightly different expressions.
What?
No, I'm just thinking that. I was just thinking about the ones we've done in classes over the years. They end up so cute. So what I want to do now is, before we move on too much further.
Didn't we do a gnome our first year?
I think we might have.
Or was it different? Gnome Sweet Home.
I
or
can't
Gnome
remember.
Sweet Gnome. Or
Oh yeah,
Gnome
first
for the
year
holidays.
Go Bucks.
Gnome for the holidays.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, it's on our website. It's real cute. He's holding a little coffee cup. So I'm going to mix a little bit more red with my flesh color. We're going to get a blush color, and it can be kind of bubblegum pink is a good one to go with. And I'm just going to brush it across the top and sides of the nose, like he's been out in the snow, which he is in the painting. And he has that Nordic skin color that's going to turn really pink. And we'll come back later and we can kind of work this in even a little more. Now, one thing that's kind of neat, if you end up with a really harsh line and it's not very blended, it's not going to look wrong or anything, but if you feel like you want it blended, you can wash your brush off and dry it off and go back to your peach color and work from the inside out. So you're just kind of glazing the edges of the pink where the pink meets the peachy color. And then you'll have a nice blend. And you can always go back and add a little more pink if it kind of, as it dries, it disappears more. I like to make it kind of blotchy. So what I do is just sort of dab it on. Just lifting and tapping my brush. And again, if you end up with too much, wash your brush.
I've been doing this whole process
dry it off.
With the biggest brush. And so...
And then work from the inside and just sort of glaze over the edges to soften it all up. Later on, we add shading. We add highlight. We add yellow from the lantern. So it's going to change up quite a bit. Let's see where we are at. We are ready to draw the mittens and lantern. So the lantern is just a little square with a triangle top. It's very easy to draw. But let's go ahead and draw the mittens first. So you can use the same brush, or if you want to switch down to either of these smaller ones, you can totally do that. Whatever feels best to you. Let's go ahead and you can knock off any excess paint off this big brush, because I don't think we're going to use peach anymore. You can wash that off so that it doesn't sit there drying with paint on it. And our water's going to turn. Our water's turning kind of guava colored, like guava juice or something. Guava smoothie. Okay, there we go. All right, go ahead and use the peach color because it's a nice light color to draw with, and it gets completely covered up and it's easy to cover. So just under like this side of the mustache, I'm going to draw a little thumb. And the back side is just rounded like that. And then you can draw the mitten part. It's very simple. And they can be really small or they can be larger. These ones are fairly large on this one. This one's maybe a little smaller.
Looks like a lily pad.
Yeah, kind of like a lily pad. The other one over here, you can align it a little higher if you like, or a little lower. I like to have them be slightly different. And it can touch this other one, or there can be a gap between. Really doesn't matter.
I realize that mine has tiny little hands.
Yeah, they do. It's a tiny little creature.
Well, he's a tiny little creature with disproportionately tiny little hands at that.
Now check and see if you have room for your lantern. That's something important because if you've run out of room down here, you can have the triangle part come up a little higher. So what I'm going to have us do is draw the square part of the lantern first. And it doesn't have to be as big as this one. It can be a little tiny lantern. So I'm going to actually raise mine up a little bit. I'm going to draw straight across here. Just a little square. You okay there?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of chilly in here, and my nose is kind of running a little bit. Sorry, that's disgusting.
Disgusting.
Sorry.
Now at the top of this, we're going to draw a triangle, just like when you were a kid and you used to draw houses. A little square with a triangle on it. And you can draw a little line that loops up to the thumb, and it's basically looping behind the mitten. That gets done in black later, but if it helps you visualize it, you can absolutely draw it on there. Go ahead and wash your brush. And let's get the background painted in. So finish up what you're doing. Try not to stress about it too much because everything is correctable. Like I feel like mine's really wide by comparison. In fact, if you if I put them side by side. And that's bothering me, but I know it's just going to look like a slightly different gnome. It's just, I guess maybe I'm OCD enough to have it bother me. But I'm going to show you how I can shave it down a little. Let's take our biggest brush, and we're going to mix the background color. Now, we've got our phthalo blue, which is a little too dark, unless you want a really dark sky. I like to add to the opacity of this color, so I'm going to pull some of this aside, and I mix just a little white with it. Enough that it lightens it a touch and makes it a bit more opaque, so it's not going to be totally see-through when you paint it on. The white helps with that, but not enough white that you end up with a light blue, like daytime looking sky, unless you want that. And then what I do is I just do choppy brush strokes.
I'm good at that.
All around. And here I'm going to show you if you need to reduce the size of your gnome. You can come in and sketch. If only it was that easy.
It is Photoshop.
There we go.
By the way, I just want to update people. I'm off of TikTok. I've moved on to Reels on Instagram.
That's not better.
It's more age appropriate.
Less political, at least.
Yeah.
I got sick of TikTok because it was like, I was just getting tons of political stuff. And I know you can change the algorithm, but I didn't want to really see any of it. I just try to keep an open mind and avoid a lot of really highly opinionated stuff for my own opinions. Okay, so you can occasionally dip your brush in the dark blue and flick it all around and have some dark blue patches in the sky. I love to do that because it adds some variance. There's no reason you need a solid color sky, especially like in a scene like this. It's snowing, and so there might be some areas where you've got some clouds.
And there could be Christmas lights in the background.
There could be Christmas lights in the background.
There could be Santa and his sleigh.
Sleighing.
Yeah.
That's a word our daughter says all the time, and so now I've started saying it just out of habit, just from talking to her. So like, okay, yesterday I took her to grocery outlet bargain market for the first time.
It's not the bargain market part. Is that still part of it?
Yeah,
it is. Still called that?
Yeah, grocery outlet bargain market. I think it's probably national, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, I was looking for gingerbread houses because everywhere I've gone has pretty much been sold out, and I'm having a
So you're hoping to find last year's gingerbread houses.
Exactly. I'm having a little gathering at my house with my sister and my nephew, and we're going to make gingerbread houses with all the kids.
What's the expiration date on those things?
I don't eat. Nobody eats them, really. I mean, little kids might.
Like, we literally have, like, 4 of them across the street.
Anyway, back to my story. So we're in this store, and I hadn't been in there in, gosh, it must have been 3 years or so. We have a really nice one here in Newburgh. It's a newer building. And we're in there, and she loves Halloween. It's her favorite holiday, and she found Frankenberry cereal, and there's like Halloween Fruity Pebbles. We were laughing so hard, and she's like, "This place slays." I was laughing so hard. Grocery outlet slays.
It works.
Alrighty.
Could be worse. She could be one of those teenagers that's like, why can't we go to Nordstrom?
I like that she thinks grocery outlet slays.
She, like, when she wants to go shopping, she's like, can we go to Value Village?
You know what she really liked? She liked that it had a whole bunch of different types of ramen.
Oh, do they do?
Mm-hmm. Oh. So I'm ending up painting up over my little curlicues mostly. You can see that. I think I need to shave this down a bit.
It's just a guideline.
And when I add the beard and mustache later, right now it looks really strange and cut off on this side, but I'll be able to, because we're using gray and white, I'll be able to totally curve right back into this background color.
You know what we should do for next year? Elaine had a great suggestion. This would make a great porch leaner, loving the process.
Yeah.
It would be really cool to do like a plank of wood.
Yeah.
And do like a long, skinny version of this.
That would be super fun.
We'd have to order special boxes for shipping them.
I've seen people do that before, where they do a snowman on one side and a scarecrow on the other, so then you just flip it over.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. I love that idea. So I'm going to switch to a smaller brush to get into this little curl. Back to my number 8. And getting in there.
And you guys, I just want to I'm really excited. I bought a little CNC router machine so that we can make all kinds of different wooden cutouts, like the snowman and what was this? Snowman and the Santa. We can actually start designing our own and making them ourselves. So that's going to be really cool. I'm excited about that.
Except you're taking business away from the lady I found that... But she has neat ones that I wouldn't even want to try to begin to design, so we'll still use her stuff.
Yeah, for sure. For now.
Yeah, because I found this lady has a shop, wood shop, and...
I have a wood shop.
I know. I like to support woman-owned businesses, too, though.
We are a woman-owned business. I'm just the labor.
You're the woman.
Well, at times, I have my moments.
Okay, so I'm going to just brush in the occasional little swatch of darker blue, just plain phthalo blue, just to show you how you can change up the background just a bit. And it really works nice if the background has started to dry. If it's really wet, it tends to not want to stick.
This is one of those where I wish we had like a really good lime green that really stands out so we could do like Aurora Borealis behind him.
Oh yeah, that's an extended class.
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about like a full-on Aurora, but just like a suggestion of it.
I might use this smaller brush just to sort of smooth out the edge here. There. Now he's a little closer in size to my original. I felt like... I've noticed that, though, in teaching, that sometimes the one you're teaching ends up really large and in charge. And I think a lot of times it's just because you're showing it and you're like probably over-explaining and
totally,
over-painting.
100%. Mm-hmm. Especially when we're teaching in person.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me just do this a little bolder so you guys can see what's really going on here.
Okay, now if you decide later on that your background needs a second coat of blue, you can do that. You want to let it dry. And also you don't always have to do a second coat of blue across the whole sky. You might just have some parts where it's kind of thin and it just needs a second coat there. As long as you blend it out and it's not obvious that, you had a second coat in one part and not in the other.
Wait, did I say Elaine? I meant Elaine.
Elaine. No, you did say Elaine.
Okay, good.
Because at first I thought you were talking about Eileen, our employee from when we had the studio, and then I realized you said Elaine.
Okay, good. Because if I did say it wrong, it was because I was totally thinking of our employee.
Yeah.
Haven't seen her in
a long time.
Which is silly because she works in Starbucks in the town we live in now, and it's like we should just go say hi.
But she's the Starbucks in the grocery store we don't shop at, so.
Right.
Okay, so let's see what our next step is. We are at the step of putting the beard base color on.
Oh, cool.
So he's very layered.
Nice.
And anytime you're painting something white, like I just did a painting for a friend of mine of her white cat. And I know that you have to do an undercoat that's darker or the white hairs won't really show up. And I know I've talked about this before. Having that undercoat on there, so you look at this and you think, yeah, he's got a white beard. But if you look closer, you see underneath it's gray. That was my base coat, and that allows you to have a streaky beard that looks white overall but has some texture to it. So we are going to mix, I've got this already. It's the blue and a little bit of white. We're going to mix black into that and maybe a little more white. Let's see how it goes. Use your biggest brush.
Do it.
I am.
I'm so supportive.
So I'm going to gradually add a little black. And yes, I definitely need to add more white, otherwise it's going to be dark blue beard. We want it kind of a steel gray color. So more gray than blue, but just a slight bluish tint to it. And it's going to feel funny at first because it's so dark compared to what we end up with. Just stir that around. Might add a little more black. It's looking maybe a little more blue than I want. But yeah, he's going to have kind of a bluish beard at first. This is kind of in a glaring section, so let me tilt that. Sorry about that. I didn't realize until I looked up at the monitor. It's very similar to this color. I could probably add a little more white in there. There. Let me paint a swatch on here so you can see. Definitely gray, but it has the bluish tint to it. Before we go crazy filling everything in though, we need to establish our mustache. Take your number 8 brush or your whatever small brush you want to use. Dip it in black, and we're going to just kind of sketchily outline. So by sketchily, I'm just kind of lifting and tapping my brush just to give it kind of a furry look. And then we'll know where the division is.
Spotify right now.
We want to show you your end of the year roundup.
You didn't join in on your favorite band's live stream.
So I'm going to fill this in.
So for those of you who don't join our live stream, we're going to start sending you guys notifications. Yo, we missed you. We feel like we don't even know you. We want to feel like we're part of everybody's lives.
I feel like I keep remixing and remixing this color and ending up with the same. I guess it's just meant to be. So I'm using the big brush to get the main bulky big areas right around the background. It's going to be really close to the background color, so there won't be a huge difference there. There's enough of a difference to see it. Go around your lantern, correct anything. Like if you made your mittens too big or small or whatever and you want to correct them, you can use this color. Just use the negative space and correct it. Use the negative space to make it a positive space. Woo-hoo. Those of you with kids, I think you're probably starting Christmas break. Let's see, after tomorrow for us. My daughter and I will both love to bake, so that's our plan. We're going to make a big grocery list and get all the things we need to make a million different high-calorie sweets. But a lot of times I'll UPS them. Like, I'll UPS them to my parents or, you know, because it's next day delivery for them, so it's not like they would go bad. And it's kind of fun. I'll bring them to neighbors. Anyone I want a brown nose. I was thinking, I can't remember who I said I was going to give some to.
I don't remember.
Yeah, it was the other day. I can't remember.
Kim, I think a leaner, I think, is a painted plank of wood that usually has an image or maybe words like welcome that you just lean up on your front porch.
Yeah. And it's amazing how acrylic paint stays outside. Like, some of you guys on our Facebook group page, let's just switch to a smaller brush to fill in around this area, and then we'll get the mustache too. Anyway, some of you on our Facebook page saw a couple months ago I had made a no soliciting sign because we have solicitors that are out of control in our neighborhood because we live in suburbia, and they don't pay attention to anyone's no soliciting signs.
Like, literally, like, they will say, like our old soliciting side said, no soliciting unless you're bringing wine or offering to help fold the laundry. And, like, I literally had one guy come in one day be like, well, bring out the laundry bin. I'll take care of it for you. And I was like, oh, dude.
You should have held him to it. But anyway, yeah, so I made this one that I found on, I think on Etsy, the saying. And I thought, haha, that's funny. It's almost Halloween. And it's still up, actually. It says, no soliciting, violators will be sacrificed to the old gods, not the new. And it's acrylic paint with acrylic paint marker for the writing, and it is out there in the frost and the rain, and it is doing just fine.
Well, I know that like we've done rocks, right? Like love rocks. Mm-hmm. And but we've got some in our front, in our water feature in the front that Greta painted when she was like 5. Mm-hmm. That are like they've been in the water for like 10 years and they still are hold up. So something to keep in mind about acrylic is plastic.
Whoa.
So it's not going to go anywhere.
Now my background here is still a little bit wet, and I want to eventually bump that mustache out just a bit, but I'm going to wait so it doesn't turn too blue. I'll just come up to the edge there. Just give it a minute or two to dry. Same with this side. Yeah, it's still a little wet. I just smeared blue, and he's Captain Bluebeard. Yeah. So yeah, the porch paintings are totally awesome. They withstand all kinds of the elements. One of my friends, I made her years ago, 10 years ago maybe, made her a little fall painting that she puts up every year that says welcome. It has a pumpkin. It was fun and cute, but the only thing she's had happen is when she took it down once, there was a frog living behind it in like this part. You know, has a little recessed panel. It's like living down there. He found the perfect little spot.
There, when we had our studio in Selwood, there was one of the houses right behind us had come in and done one of our Starry Night paintings, and they had it hung on their front porch for years and years and years.
I'd see it every time I parked. Okay, so I'm just getting around the area here. Now you can thin out your little peach outlines or even cover them if you want, or leave them. It really doesn't matter. That green color we make, or even a red should, if you want to do red, should cover it. Oh, it's like I'm going to end up with a little gap between here. Let's see. Oh, it's still a little wet. Now I've got like a really let's zoom in for a second. Where's our little remote?
It's Zuma.
So over here you can see the canvas peeking through. It's not a problem because we add lots of layers to this, so I'll be able to add more dark to that now. So right now we're in kind of the rough and ugly phase is what I like to call it. You do see right here I kind of messed up. It will come through it. It will come through that rough phase, I promise. Okay, you can zoom back out, Paul. So yeah, you can use, like, see how I'm using this dark color to kind of correct the shape of the nose? It's like using that negative space there. Giving him a nose job. I like his big, bulbous, rummy nose. So the one that we had in the studio was called the Tomten, remember? Mm-hmm. And the Tomten is a Swedish gnome.
Aren't they a bit mischievous?
Yes. So the lore behind them, it's so cute. You can look it up on Wikipedia and read all about it. There's different names like Tomte, Nissa, but Tomten is, there's a book called The Tomten and the Fox, and my kids had it when they were young. We still have it, and we loved it. But anyway, reading about the lore behind the Tomten on Wikipedia, they come and they take care of your farm animals at night. They protect them and make sure they're safe and fed. And the only payment they require is that you leave a little bowl of, I think, buttered porridge out.
Sounds good to me.
For them. And if you forget, then they get really mad and they slaughter your livestock.
Come on. So you're saying they slay.
They slay. Okay, this is dry enough. I'm going to bump this out now and make this mustache a little more grandiose on this side. And the cool thing is if you get it done and you don't love it, let it dry and paint the blue back over it for the background and just start over. You get to be a little hairdresser, beard dresser. And over here I can do the same thing. The blue's still a tiny bit wet, so I am getting a little bit of blue streaking in, but it's not enough to be a big deal. Yeah, that Tomten and the Fox book is old, and it was written by the same author that wrote Pippi Longstocking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. This will become more cute later. You can see the white is where we make it cute. And white, the combination of the white paint and the small brush. That's how we get to make it cute. Right now, it's just kind of blah. Let's get some snow in the background. So when I did this original here, I just used my number 8 brush because I like to let it kind of run out of paint a little bit so that you do see some of the blue background showing through, because snow at night is never pure white. It's always got kind of a bluish sheen to it just from the night sky, or I guess depending on what light it's under, it might have a yellow sheen. So I'm going to take the brush. I just pick up a little bit of white to start. You can see there's not a lot of white on my brush. And I'm going to come in here. You can come as far up as you want, because the snow bank is like behind him. And the blue is still a tiny bit wet on my canvas, and that's perfectly fine because we do want this to have a slightly bluish cast. And you can always go back and add more bright white to certain parts of this. If it turned overall too blue, you want kind of a streaky blue-white. So let's zoom in, Paul.
Tight.
There we go. Yeah, so you can see it's sort of mixed in, bluish.
Oh, I kind of missed that corner with my background.
Yeah, your beard is so big. And now over here, you can do
I'm
another
living
hill.
Vicariously through my gnome.
Yeah, this could, like, behind the gnome, it could bump up or whatever. It doesn't have to come out at the exact same. Like, if you were doing a straight line, you'd want it to come out at the exact same spot. But this one, like, I could have it be a little sharper angle here. Like maybe that hill goes up.
Actually, mine's kind of taking on a little bit of a Blair Witch kind of vibe. The really super tight.
Oh, you're painting Krampus.
Yeah.
Or Baphomet.
Super tight up close.
Okay, you can zoom out.
Hold on.
Yeah, so I'm going to let that dry, and later on I'll fix up this little spot that's maybe
How
too
far
blue.
out?
Just our normal, right about there, yeah. Okay. Wash the brush. Now is where you want to think about your mitten color, and if you're going to put the patch on, the color you want it to be. I did them matching, but they don't have to be. He could be totally bohemian and have unmatching everything. And you could do any color, really. It doesn't have to be, like, this is very Christmassy colored, but it doesn't have to be. He could have a pink heart, pink mittens, you could do baby blue mittens, rainbow mittens. Well, I guess we do have all the colors to make rainbow color.
Oh, it's kind of tough, though.
Yeah, they don't make the prettiest. I think you could. So yeah, those are different ideas. I will show you how to do the green because that's what I'm teaching, but you feel free to do any color you like. I'm gonna make sure, yes, I meant that, okay. So for the green, let's do equal parts blue and yellow to start. I'm very messy with my palette. I apologize, it gets really bad. And then I just gradually keep pulling more yellow in until I get a green that I like. Now you can have an evergreen type of green or a teal green by having more blue. You can have an avocado green by adding more yellow. I do something that's kind of in between. It's actually pretty close to like a Kelly green almost. You can tone this down with red too. So let's see what that would look like. So here I've swatched off a little green here. And if you use the tiniest little bit of red, gradually, you can actually get it purpley green. It's really weird. But this got to be just the blue. So yeah, that tones it down. You could just keep adding more and more if you wanted it to go deeper and darker. That's a good color if you do holly leaves on something. You could put holly leaves on his hat. Why not? Kim, we know you're good at that.
Jenny just called you out.
She did a very good job with the holly leaves on her snowman. It was something I suggested in the video, and I love to see that when people do things that are suggested but maybe not necessarily painted on my project. Shows some fearless behavior there. I want to make sure that's about the right color. Okay, yeah. Go ahead and fill in the mittens. They will need a second coat because as this dries, it gets kind of transparent and streaky. And the second coat is really going to make them pop in the true color. You want to cover most of your outlines here, like those original peach outlines. We are fully engaged in the not pretty section of this painting. Everything's very rough. It will come through. It's just all that detail stuff that we do closer to the end that really makes it.
It's one of those things, is like the detail stuff, it seems like we do like 90% of the painting is no detail. It's just laying it out, laying it out, laying it out, and then boom, we kind of rush in with the details and it all comes together. That sounded really enthusiastic. Click, click, boom.
Boom. And right now the tone of the gloves is dark if you're doing the green like I am. And the beard is also dark, so they don't look great together because we really want the gloves to pop out. And when we add the white streaks to the beard and the mustache, then we will see these a lot more. Just smoothing out my brush strokes here. That needs to dry before we do anything else to the mittens. Keep your brush handy. We're going to use it to fill in the patch, but I'm going to draw the patch using my little brush. Boy, it is cold in here, Paul.
Well, I mean,
the heater makes a lot of noise.
It's loud, and I don't heat a whole warehouse at night.
Why not? So there's my heart patch. I made it look like it's starting to wrap around the side. So this side's a little bit smaller than this side because we're kind of like, it just helps make it look a little more three-dimensional. But you could put it right in the middle. The other thing you could do is leave the patch off and you could paint a big snowflake right in the middle like it's stitched on. I wanted this to look like it's made out of like felt. So it's got this blanket stitch around the edge. So you could totally do what looks like a stitched on snowflake. But if you want to do what I did on the original, right about here, I'm going to draw a nice heart shape. You can use pencil first if that makes you more comfortable. And then here I'm going to come up, and I barely have room to show this other curve, and I'm going to come back down. Are you going to put a patch on yours, Paul?
I'm actually doing more like a Santa bandit hat.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you are. Okay.
It was like
he's got the furry lining on
yeah, and it wasn't like I wanted to do it that way, but that's just what the canvas spoke to me. AKA, I got a little sloppy, and that was the easiest way to fix it.
Let us know if you guys are Christmas movie watchers, if you've watched any good ones that are really cheesy. That's the kind that we love to watch. The ones where it's like the same story in every single one. Big city girl moves back to her hometown and falls back in love with the high school boy that she loved, or the boy she dated in high school, or whatever.
We did watch Spirited.
That was cute. I liked that.
Which is the
Has a lot of music in it, though, so if you're not a musical fan, keep that in mind.
That's the new one with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell.
Yeah, it was fun.
And I still haven't decided if it was intentionally being like, oh, this is a Christmas musical. Yes, it was. But was it tongue-in-cheek or was it serious music? I think it was a little bit of both. Like, it's hard to kind of tell. Because the overacting of the background dancers.
Oh, yeah, they were fun to watch.
Like, it makes you think...
They were into it.
Like, they're kind of making fun of musicals, but at the same time not.
Okay, I'm going to show you now while this dries and it's drying so we can put a second coat on it.
It's no Phantom of the Opera, I will tell you that.
I'm going to show you, oh wait, I'm reading here. Oh yeah. No, we don't have snow here yet.
It snowed.
Very lightly. Just
Well,
it didn't
okay,
really
but for where we live in Oregon, snow to us means snow fell from the sky. It does not necessarily mean that it stuck or created an issue, but we did have a couple weekends ago, our son had spent the night at Grandma and Grandpa's house, and we got up in the morning and it was starting to snow. We're like,
they're
that's
higher
nice.
than sea level.
And then all of a sudden we got the weather report that there could be up to 3 inches of snow, so we're like, okay, let's go get sun.
Yeah, so we drove out to get him. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk shading. So the shading I do in kind of a brownish shade, and it's very watered down. Those of you who did March last year, we did the Morning Wishes painting with the dewdrops, and we used the watered down paint we outlined, and then we kind of pulled inward. That's exactly what we're doing here. So it's just like our bubbles, like our dewdrops. I'm going to show you how to do it. Let's go ahead and mix up the paint with a bigger brush. So I'm going to use my number 8, most overused brush on my side. Let's make a true, we're not making a peachy orange. We're making just a, half yellow, half red orange. So it's pretty red.
So I think we are going to try, as in the Christmas movie realm, I think we are actually going to try to watch Die Hard this year. Just to see what, I've seen it. Oh, I thought she wanted to.
No. Let's scrape off a little black and add that to it. We're aiming for kind of a chestnut brown color. So adjust as needed. If you get this going and it's maybe burgundy because it has too much red, you're going to want to pull a little more yellow in there.
So never mind.
I'll watch it. She'll be asleep anyways. And then I just keep going back and forth, adding more black or more yellow till I get kind of a chestnut brown. So chestnut brown is slightly reddish. You just don't want it burgundy. You want it to definitely look like it's a brown shade as opposed to like Merlot. So this is probably the ideal color for this right here. And all I had to do, I made that reddish orange, and yeah. And then I put a little black in it, realized it was a little too burgundy, so I pulled more yellow into it. I'm going to set this brush in my water, probably wash it off. I think we will use it in a minute, but we don't want all that paint on it. So let's just wash it off, dry it off, set it aside. What fell? Oh, it's a little brush protector. My brushes are sliding over here. And now I'm going to pick up my smallest brush. I'm going to add a couple drops of water to this. So it's pretty watered down. If you're painting on an easel, so your painting's upright, you don't want it so watery that it's going to drip. So about the consistency of heavy cream is what I like. And let's go ahead and let's trace across the top. You could leave it like this if you don't really want to mess with the shading. But I'm going to show you how to do this shading. It looks really nice. So I'm going to now start pulling that watered down color inward with my number 8 brush, or you can use your number 4 brush, either way. So you're not really disturbing the outer ring, the outer line that we did, but you are kind of pulling the inward part more into the nose. And you can always wash your brush, dry it off, and just use a damp brush and smooth it out so it's blended. But then you're left with this really nice watercolor-like outline. And you can keep doing you can keep repeating it. If it didn't end up as dark as you wanted it to be, you can do it again. Or if you lost a lot of the sharp edge of your outline because of pulling your paint inward with that other brush, you can totally just outline it again. Going around the bottom now. Because this dries pretty fast, that's why I did half the nose, and now I'm going to do the other half.
It is chilly in here. Yeah,
very. So before that tries to dry too much, I'm going to pick up that number 8 brush. And it can get pretty dark around the edges. Like it's in shadow. He's out here in the dark. Plus we add the white shine or highlight down here later on. So I really like the way this looks around here. Under here I kind of pulled the sharpness out a little too much with my bigger brush. You can do this kind of shading on so many different paintings. It's easy, and I love the watercolor effect that it gives. And yeah, if you ever paint anything with bubbles, this is how you do it. You know, with bubbles, you can use brown. I've done that before in different paintings. Or you can use like a dark blue. We're going to do this to the mittens later too, so hopefully you enjoyed that technique.
Loved it.
Did you do it?
What?
The
I'm
shading?
working on it.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
The cool thing too is if it ends up that you had too much paint on your brush and the nose just got really dark, you can wash your brush, dry it off, and you can go back to your peach color or remake it. Hopefully you don't have to remake it. It's a chore to make. And you can really just pop it back in there just a little bit at a time, if needed. My new guy has a really big potato nose. Everything got bigger. I love shading like this though. There's something satisfactory about it once you get the hang of it. At first, I could see where it maybe would be a little frustrating.
But you know, when we're doing this type of painting, the shading, as you get better, it's the difference maker.
It really is, because it can look really almost
Flat.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I don't know what the right word is, but yeah, I hate to use the word amateur, but
Unrefined.
yeah, that's a better, because I don't want to use the word amateur, 'cause to me that has a negative connotation, I think. But you can, like, as opposed to just outlining a solid black outline, when it's shaded like this, you suddenly end up with more of a three-dimensional, more interesting object to look at, even if it's a potato nose. Okay, all of that being done, my patch and mittens are completely dry now, and I have just enough green, I think, to cover them with a second coat. And this is where, if you want to lighten your green with maybe a little more yellow, maybe that first coat was a little darker than you wanted to, you can totally do it. Oh yeah, Kim, that Morning Wishes painting is one of my all-time favorites, and I think it was March of this past year, and we've sold quite a few of the individual kits of that one, which makes me happy that people liked it. That one, and then the other one I really loved from this past year. We should do a wrap-up of our favorite paintings, Paul.
Oh, we should. We should do like a top 5.
Yeah, the other favorite that I put out,
Or maybe each of us do a top 3 of our own personal favorites.
last year was actually January of last year when I did the colorful elephant. I thought that one was so fun to paint and so satisfying, and I just really loved the way it looked in the end. And I loved seeing everybody who posted their paintings. Gosh, you guys all did such a good job with that one. And that it's not the easiest thing. We're painting an animal, and an animal that looks, it's kind of a different looking animal. It's not like a cat or a dog. It's got really strange bone structure by comparison. Yeah, you guys rocked that one. And then we got the lion that kind of goes with that. So we're trying to figure out what to do for January. I told Paul, like, last year he did the winter pond painting, which I thought was really pretty, and a lot of people really liked that one. So I don't know if you want to do another something like that, or if you want to, I don't know, we'll figure something out. We both are the type that work best under pressure.
Yeah.
And like is crazy.
We were planning to have January ready by the end of November.
It never happens. We always plan it.
It didn't happen.
But I feel like, unless I'm really drained of ideas, I feel like I work really good under pressure. What was your least favorite painting we did last year? This past year?
So I have to pick one of my own.
I think I know which one you'll say.
Let me think. I'm gonna look. I gotta look.
You don't remember? What?
Well, they kind of blur. Let me look.
I know which one that you seemed the most unhappy with.
All right, yeah. So obviously, I'm not gonna pick one of yours because that would not be nice.
You don't want to see Paul get tortured on air.
Roasted.
No. Actually, you should tell me which one of mine.
For this last year.
Oh, Debbie. I don't think he has done anything with glaciers.
No, I haven't.
That would be really cool. You can say it like how Bear Grylls
Okay.
says it. Glaciers.
I'm going to say last month's.
Really? You didn't?
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice painting of yours. It wasn't like, it didn't have anything that like jumped out.
Right.
But I thought overall it was really nice.
Which
so that
one
was
did you think I was gonna say?
Frost Mountain. I thought you were going to say the Sakura Bridge one.
That was actually, yeah. That one was, I thought about saying that one. And I think the only reason I picked
February
last
year,
month is I feel like then we did another mountain the next month too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Sakura Lake one, yeah, kind of.
Okay, so we need our mittens to dry just a bit before we...
By the way, thanks for pointing out your favorite one and then asking me to pick my least favorite one.
Okay, what's your favorite one?
Actually...
real quick, though, I want to get them going on the next step.
Go for it.
I'm just going to... I've got this line here, which I know when I paint the light yellow on might show through, so I'm going to use white and just give it a quick coat of white over the top of the lantern, under the triangle. So this is in the house part of this square. And you can coat the whole thing if you want. And just add some nice texture.
So for me, my favorite, if I'm picking from my own paintings, I'm picking between, it's a tie. Mm-hmm. It's the Lavender Fields one.
Oh, that one ended up really nice. People did a great job with that one, too.
And then the Haunted House.
Oh, I loved that one.
That's
I really did love that
the
one.
tie for my two favorite that I designed this year. Of yours, let me see.
Least favorite?
I'm not gonna pick a least favorite. That's
Oh,
nice.
okay. I know. I'm trying to think what my least favorite was. I know there was one. I didn't love the swan. I thought it was cute, though. I mean, it just wasn't like, I don't know. It didn't do it for me like some of the others. Let's paint the hat now while he's looking that up. So I actually, even though the
I
hat...
liked your vintage pumpkin witch.
Oh, that was fun.
And this one.
So even though the hat is true red, for real, in person, we actually start with it kind of being a raspberry smoothie color, and that's just to add this nice opacity to it, because just the red coat on its own doesn't cover the canvas quite enough, so you'd have to do like maybe 3 coats. But if we make that kind of raspberry smoothie color and then do the second coat in pure red, it's a nice way to avoid doing a 3rd coat. So let's mix white and red. More red than white.
So what's your favorite one that you've designed all time for GoBox?
Oh boy.
It's hard to remember. That's not fair. You don't have to answer that one.
I'm thinking. You know what? Actually, I can say one of my least favorite ones that I ever did, because it was my first with GoBox, was that bonfire one.
Okay.
I just felt like looking at it now, I'm like, oh, that could use a bit more depth. But, you know, just learn along the way.
Well, we
just
went
like everyone else.
shifting-
If you stop learning, then there's something, you know, you should never stop learning. How about that?
But also, to be fair, like shifting gears from teaching in person to
Yeah.
teaching
Online.
is a little bit of a learning curve, because we can do so much more online versus what we had to do in person.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm just coming close to the mustache with this big brush, and I'll switch to a smaller brush to get right down in there. And same with this heart. Just come close to it and then switch to the smaller brush to get around. And same with this little top curl. Make sure you cover all your peach outlines. So now I'm ready to go to a smaller brush. I'll just set that in the water. The one that I really liked that you did was I had designed Tokati Falls. That was our...
Yeah.
And then you just like completely like
That one's
blew it out of the water.
That one has been a point of contention in our household, though.
I remember it was just like...
You were so mad.
I was like, everybody, like, yours was so much better. It was embarrassing. And then I thought, that's what he's doing. He's trying to one-up me every video.
And the honest truth is that I'm not. I'm just painting.
I know. I think it's funny, though. Funny little banter we have.
We actually had people who were upset by Tokati Falls.
Yeah, the marketing company we were using for a while used it, a photo I had taken of Paul's in an ad.
And people were like accusing us of false advertising.
Because they're like, the one you have advertised on your website looks nothing like that. And they're going, "Grr, Paul, everybody hates mine and they all want yours."
No.
Yes.
That wasn't the case.
Well,
actually, the first like 3 or 4 months, I didn't design any of them.
Yeah.
You and Eric had designed the first couple months because I was too busy to work on those. We were planning on having guests on our live streams often. In fact, our very first live stream, which was a colossal failure.
No, that was the second one.
Second one was a colossal failure because we didn't have the right equipment yet. But our friend Randy Joe joined us for that.
And it was a Halloween painting, and we both dressed up, and she like probably spent all day long doing her hair like Lucille Ball, and she looked so perfect. And we get halfway through it, and Paul's like, "I forgot to press record."
I don't remember. It wasn't a live stream, though, was it?
Yeah, it was. No. Oh, no, it wasn't. You're right. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have mattered about recording if it was a live stream.
The things we've learned.
There's our wrap-up for 2022 with a little 2019 thrown in there.
Yeah.
Okay. There, I've got the hat coated with a very vibrant raspberry color. And what next? Let's see how these are. As the gloves are drying, I feel like they could even use a third coat. And I think I said that in the instruction, 2 to 3 coats. Dang, I thought I would get away with...
So you ask about glaciers. So I tend to be the one that tends to lean towards doing the landscapes. I think that's even an understatement to say.
He is the landscape man.
And
I'm just putting in some areas, I'm putting a third coat on some parts of my gloves that are...
I will be the first one to admit that winter and snow scenes are not my strong suit.
He hates painting snow.
It's not that I hate painting snow, it's that I struggle with it. And a light dusting I can do, but like a snowy field just doesn't quite get there.
There. And now, wash the brushes. Gosh, I feel like I need a whole new palette. It's so bad. I'm going to make you get up, maybe. Yeah, I need you to get up in a second and get me more yellow. Please. It's on the shelf over there in the little bottle. Looks like mustard.
Okay.
Looks like a mustard condiment bottle. I don't know if we told this story before, but we did a live event.
We haven't talked about this before. I know exactly what you're talking about. We have not brought this up in our live streams. Or maybe we have.
So wash your brushes and I'll tell you this quick story. We did a live event at a pizza place. And they did more than pizza. It was like it was a pub, basically. And at the time, I had started putting our paint for travel events in some condiment bottles that I found online because it was easy. You don't have to bring like giant jugs of paint. You're just bringing little squeeze bottles that hold about 16 ounces. And we were packing up really quickly, and one of us accidentally grabbed a ketchup bottle off the table. And we found it later in our travel box. It was like, oh, someone grabbed ketchup. We stole ketchup from this place.
Sorry, stickmen.
Yeah, so here's like the bottle. You can see if it was filled with red paint or even just yellow, it looks like mustard.
I think the way we even found that we had done that is we had put it back in with our other paints, and somebody went to start setting up pallets, and they're like, this isn't paint.
This paint. That would have been funny if it went out to the customers. Oh boy. Okay, so let's start working on the beard and mustache. It's going to come together really nice now. We're starting to get into that time where this goes from looking really rough to looking much nicer.
We fill our employee Stephanie fills every single bottle by hand.
We always tell her she's filling like a villain.
Yeah.
I fill a lot of them too, but I started getting really bad carpal tunnel.
We had bought a machine that's supposed to do it easier, but it takes so long to clean, and it's just not worth it. But she does it really pretty quick.
She enjoys doing it too.
She does. She comes in and hangs out, and we listen to music. And
we get her coffee from the shop.
We buy her coffee, and she is so invaluable to us. I feel so blessed that I got to meet her through my last job and
hire her on here.
Yeah, the timing was right for everybody, so that worked out good.
So thank you, Stephanie. She is the one who filled all your paint bottles. Okay, so let's take this number 8 brush or your number 4. Either one is fine, whatever feels better in your hand. We're going to be using the thin edge of the brush, though, for the most part. And as we go through and decorate our mustache. So I'm going to first grab a little black and kind of re-sketch out the bottom edge of this mustache where I was zooming in earlier and showing you how I didn't put quite enough paint on the canvas. And then I'm going to wash the brush. I'll tell her, Kim. She will love that. She'll feel so appreciated. Okay, so we're going to wash the brush and use the white paint. And let's just come down here. Be careful around this raspberry, unless you want your guy to have a pink mustache. No problem with that. So here is where you will be leaving some of that background color showing through here and there. Now it's mostly white. You don't want a lot of that blue-gray showing through, but you want just enough that you can see the direction of the hair flow. Now around the nose, I just come close to the nose with little short choppy brush strokes like this, using that thin edge of the brush. And then I can go beyond that and extend them out longer. But as you come up close to the nose, you want to use those short, careful little brush strokes, little whiskery brush strokes. Especially like right under here. If you need to switch to a smaller brush, please feel free to do so. I've gotten so used to using this one that I use it most of the time, sometimes in places where I probably should use a smaller brush. So feel free to use what feels good to you. So we're not going to worry about doing these curly cues quite yet. We'll use the small guy for that. Again, just be careful around the edge of that hat where it's still wet. And I'm going to overlap my black outline just a little bit, just to thin it out. So Kim, this is very similar to what we did with the little wood cutouts, the base color being the blue-gray, and then the mustache this way. But then, of course, as you remember, we did all those swirls in the beard. That was kind of fun. Now you can bump this white color out into the background just a bit if you wanted to like round out your mustache a little. Look at that, it looks so much better now. Even though it's just the mustache so far, It's really a converting thing. Changed it up a lot. Now for the beard, let's show this one. So we really want to flow around. See how these go around the back of the mittens? We do outline the mittens with we do the same thing we did here. So if you accidentally overlap a bit, that's totally fine. They will stand out once again once we outline them. And then down, like I go between and around just to make it look like his mittens are really poking through the beard, so the beard is sort of going around them. Okay, I'm going to start right under here. And I'm going to just real quickly start going around the curve here, just so I establish it. So then I know when I paint more on here, I know exactly what direction I'm wanting to go. So that helps establish the curve of the beard around the gloves. And again, you can thin out that outline, the black outline between the mustache and beard a little if you need to. You can always put it back on if you accidentally remove it too much. Oh, you're getting lots of compliments for the snowman and the Santa. Daughter told you. Oh, they look star-bought. I love that. I love the glitter that you added. I was so hoping someone would do that. Did you use Mod Podge or like Elmer's glue or something to stick on the glitter? I know, I usually have some Mod Podge laying around, so that's what I do. And then
usually we've got like 4 gallons of it next door.
Yeah,
unopened.
We used it a lot in the studio, and someone over-ordered it. It wasn't me. Someone probably got a deal. Okay, so here I'm going to come and start flicking out this way, just directing the hair. I have to say, those little cutout ornaments, there was a third one, and it was so cute, but it ended up being a little too involved. It was a snowman hat, and I should send you a picture of it, Kim. My daughter actually came up with the idea. I was like, I gotta paint something on this hat. I don't want to do just flat black and a ribbon across the hat. It has to be more interesting. And so she said, you should make it look like there's a window and you're looking in the house, you're outside looking in the house through the window and you see the Christmas tree. So that's exactly what I did. And it just ended up being it would have been too long of a video, too involved. But I just shipped it to my mom. She loved it. But I took a picture before I sent it, so I'll have to message it to you. Maybe next year we'll be able to do something with the hat.
The hat was the one that I
struggled.
Yeah, you were really excited about the shape, but then...
This looks really funny right here. Yeah, I was super excited about the shape, but then struggled a bit with... Because the shape was maybe too simple.
Yeah.
And I was trying to make it be more interesting. So here I'm bringing my... kind of like we did up here, we use the thin edge of your brush and bring those little whiskery brush strokes right up close. I'm doing that here to the gloves. This is where it's maybe a little... The part that's maybe a little more challenging because we are dealing with these little shapes coming together. And then right here, it's just, I like to curve the hair around. Like, he's got this long flowing hair and you can make it flow however you want. So these two like flowing together like this is a nice touch.
Did we send Mod Podge with the kit?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, we didn't. I just recommended it as an option. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the old winter ornament kit had the Mod Podge.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad that you saved that. Let's see. I brought the glitter that looks like the snow. Yeah. The really fine white glitter, I usually buy it at Michael's, honestly, because they have a lot of fine glitter. They didn't used to, but they started finally making really fine glitter and in all different colors. Like I bought pink, I bought black. I got a really cool art cabinet at home for myself after we ended our lease. I was like, I felt feeling bad. I needed to buy myself something, something that I could have for art at home. So I bought this amazing art cabinet called, what is it called?
Dreambox.
Dreambox, but actually it has a different name now. It's Create Room, I think. Create Room. And gosh, this piece of furniture was like twice the amount of my rent for 1 month in the place, but I love it. And I put all my art supplies that were scattered all throughout the house in this one cabinet. And I realized at that point how much glitter I have collected over the years. It's ridiculous.
It's amazing.
It is really amazing.
Like when you ordered that thing, and now that this art cabinet is 10 feet wide. I guess it's 8 feet wide. And it's 6 feet tall. And she has it stuffed.
Yeah, I wondered if I'd fill each compartment. Like, am I going to have like empty compartments? Oh no, I was able to fill every single.
No, in fact, we have stuff
and there's
on
like
top of it.
30 compartments or more.
No,
it's
there's
a huge
more. It's like
amount.
60.
Oh my gosh, is it really?
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, I've been wanting it for 10 years, and so I figured, okay, so I'm like, close my lease. I've done 10 years of teaching art in a studio setting, and I told myself I deserved it, so I got it.
And you said, and you, I was like, how much was it? And you're like, you told me, and I was like, okay, I'm buying new golf clubs. And you can't argue with me.
Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is show you.
But I do have to say though, that is like the perfect Jenny accessory.
Perfect. So I'm gonna show you how, if you've ended up with everything too white and you're not seeing a lot of the hair movement, what you can do is you can take white and black and make a lighter medium gray, I guess, kind of like this. Very, very similar to this, but there's no need to have the blue in there. And you can streak that back in there to create a little more depth. And you don't overbrush it because your white's still wet, and if you overbrush it, meaning you're brushing over things too much in one section, then you won't end up with the streaky look. So you can either let it dry before you do this, or you can just not overbrush it. And you can streak some of the gray back in there if needed. I probably didn't need to, but I wanted to show how you can do that. I did need to on this one. I had to go back and do this because I realized I got a little out of control with that white. And if needed, you can, we're going to be using this small brush. So once you've finished up doing anything that you need to do throughout the beard and mustache, you can pick up your small brush. We are going to start flicking ends and curly cues and all that stuff. How are we doing time-wise? Okay.
Remember, we got to cut it under 2 hours.
Ooh, terrible pain.
We're good. We're at 1:22.
So I'm going to take now my small brush and just do a little curly cue. Now wrap it in tight. So a lot of times people don't do the curly cue all the way, and it just looks like, I mean, if you want it to look whimsical, you can wrap it in tight. You don't really have to, I guess, with this. Certain things you will want to wrap it in tight, but I guess you don't necessarily have to with this. This one too. And then I'll just use the little brush to refine it how I want it. And look how cute that is. And then you can add little flicks into the background. Light pressure. I don't have a ton of paint on my brush, and I'm using very light pressure, almost like you're painting like eyelashes or something. And you don't have to do very many of these, unless you want to. It's just got a few little flyaways. And then up here in the mustache, if you want to use the small brush and maybe make some smaller whiskery hairs that overlap part of that black outline, you can. Or if you need to go back with the black and, oops, that has too much water on it. If you need to go back with the black and kind of refine some of that outline, but without using a ton of paint, your little brush is great to do that. We're getting there. It's looking good. in a couple minutes, I'm just thinking what order I want to go with these steps based on drying. I think I'm going to paint the base yellow in on the lantern while this beard dries, and then we'll be able to outline our mittens and make them look way better. So, brush-wise, I'll probably use you can use either use, you know what? Let's use our big brush. It's like the perfect size. But if you have a little tiny lantern and you feel like you need to use a smaller brush, please do so. Okay. White and yellow is what we want to mix together. And look at me. This might be the first time I need to use the whole new palette page. So I would say the recipe here is 2 parts yellow, 1 part white. So you want it to definitely have a yellow tone, but a little bit lighter than the yellow right out of your bottle.
Mine's kind of got a stalkery kind of serial killer vibe.
Oh, I like his beard.
I mean, I jokingly say that.
Paul put a little lower lip in it. We'll show his at the end as you guys
Oh,
know.
I was totally inspired by Yukon Cornelius.
Okay, from Rudolph.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, one thing you can do here to keep it from just being plain light yellow, some lanterns have like that thick glass. When you look through them, the light kind of does this almost kaleidoscope type of pattern.
It refracts.
And this might be something we have to wait for it to dry a bit, but you can come back in with a littler brush, like I number 8 in yellow, and just dab bits of that kind of around the outside edges. So I do need to wait for that to dry because it's not doing anything right now. We'll let it dry. Let's get the red coating on the hat, then we'll be able to do these mittens. So plain red now. You've got your base color that was, if you did the red, that's kind of the raspberry smoothie color. And now we're just going to do plain red, and you can see the difference there as I brush it on. So right before we came here tonight, one of my friends who I've known for over 10 years, gosh, I've known her, let's see,
No,
2009.
We've known her since, we've known her 18
right.
years.
Have we really known her that long?
Yeah.
Wow. I forgot that I was trying to remember when I met her.
We met when our sons were like 4.
Yeah, our oldest children graduated, went all the way through elementary school, middle school.
They played YMCA basketball together when they were like
before they were in school. That's
when they were in preschool.
Right. Oh my gosh, we've known them so long. Well, anyways, her younger son is a senior in high school this year, and he's an actor, and he's been in some pretty mainstream stuff. Like, what was that show called?
Z Nation.
Z Nation.
Yeah, he was in Z Nation on.
It's a zombie show.
Yeah, was that on Sci-Fi?
It might have been on Sci-Fi. I don't know. He's been in movies, and he's a child actor that's, now a senior, and he's still acting. Anyway, she had commissioned me to paint him as Spider-Man, and I did it in the comic book style, and it was so much fun to do. And so she showed up this afternoon to pick it up. And she literally cried. She's the only person ever who has cried over one of my paintings. She was so excited and just couldn't wait to give it to him for Christmas. So that was so cool. I was super excited. So her crying made me cry too. Mainly because I'm like, oh, no one's ever cried over my paintings. And I know they were happy tears because we had communicated pictures along the way, and she was getting very teary along the way. The design of it. So, like, if she showed up and cried and hadn't seen parts of it before, I'd be like, oh my god, what did I do? Okay.
I think she was like I think she's one of the people that came to our very first like trial live.
Maybe.
In person.
Maybe. I'm washing my brush now and gonna get back now to the gloves. The shading on the gloves. So everything's looking good, coming together. We're in that zone now where we're starting to do the detail stuff that really brings it together. And we're just going to keep doing that more and more until we're finished. So if you need to, like I do, if you need to remake this color, remember it was red, yellow, and black. And you just adjust until you get a color that's not burgundy. So burgundy would be just red and black. Red, yellow, and black make kind of a chestnut reddish brown. Not like wine color, it's more brown. So the yellow is what's going to turn it brown. And the black is what's going to darken it. And then I'll add a drop of water, or two, probably 2 drops, to some of this, just to, you don't have to add it to all of it, unless you want to. We want to thin it out to be about like heavy cream. Wash that brush off.
If we weren't teaching this, how long would it take? So here's, I would say, about half the time.
Yeah, we have always used a formula with our teachers who taught at the studio. So real quick, I'm going to do what we did earlier. Just do a portion at a time. So you're going to outline maybe just the top of the thumb and then down here as far as you want the thumb to go. I guess we could go around the back a little. And then you'll use your number 8 brush. Maybe dip it in water and refresh it. And then just pull that outline color inward. Mine has dried a bit. So we're doing exactly what we did on the nose. At this time, it can be a little more dark if you want. It's not going to like throw off the whole picture as much as it would if you had done the nose super duper dark. So yeah, you can have a darker outline around these mittens. And we're just going to continue just portions at a time until you get those outlined. And yeah, so our formula we always used when we'd hire new staff on to teach classes, we would say if you can design, and I mean if you can paint a painting in 1 hour, you can teach it in 2.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what it is. Because when we're just painting it, you know, there's no talking or describing things that are involved. And why we do certain things, which I always love to talk about why you do certain things so that, you know, you're not just like getting instruction with not knowing.
But, you know, actually, now that I think about it, though, like when we're developing a painting for this format, I think it's closer to very similar to the same time as teaching.
Yeah.
So like if we take 2 hours to teach, it probably takes an hour and a half to develop the painting, like to sit down and paint it. Sometimes it takes longer because we're making adjustments. But like I know when we used to teach in the studio, I used to say I needed to be done in 45 minutes teaching a painting. Because I do tend to paint pretty fast. So, I don't know. Was that a fair answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Hopefully I didn't step on your toes too much there on that answer.
If you did, you'd know it.
Oh, I think I wouldn't know it yet. I'd know it later.
Now, as you're doing this, if you end up with, again, like I said earlier with the nose, if you end up with your whole entire mitten got too dark, you can remix this green and work from the inside out, just getting out to the outer edges and glazing over some of the shading color to lighten it up. But again, like they don't have to be super light. They can be pretty shaded through here. And now we're going to do that to the hat too. And I think it's okay if this is still a little bit wet. But because the hat is so big, I actually used the skinny edge of my number 8 brush, not my small brush. And I just used my dark color and came along. I'm using the thin edge of the brush. And then I just sort of shade it inwards. You can wipe your brush between portions if you want, but you don't really need to. If you look at the shading on this, it's not as soft as like the nose is. Like I took particular care with the nose just because it's a facial feature, but for the hat you don't have to have like it real dainty and fine. It can be kind of a thicker outline itself. Now if this is kind of just pushing your red base around, your hat just needs to dry a tiny bit longer. Maybe just a few minutes. It doesn't take long to, it doesn't even have to be completely dry. It just has to be tacky enough that an additional coat of paint like we're doing now will stick to it. And you can always, one of the things I have in my office where my big art cabinet is, I have a hairdryer plugged into the wall because it speeds up the drying process.
Is there a rule?
And I have no patience.
Is there a rule of thumb for knowing what colors to shade objects? Yes and no. I think it depends. Like, personally, I lean towards using dark violet colors for shading.
Yeah, you do like to do that.
You tend to lean a little bit more toward brownish colors.
I use brown anytime I'm doing skin tones. I'll use brown, but really,
you guys will be able to see the difference because I used violet. Mm-hmm. When we show ours at the end, you'll be able to see the difference. A lot of times, just a like a hue of the base color. So, like, I could technically shade this hat with burgundy, just black and red. So you can always just add black, a bit of black to your whatever color you're shading on, and that works too. And shading for me is definitely a process of going back and forth between the shaded color and the base color of the object I'm shading. So a lot of times, like right now, I would wash my brush, I'm running out of red, and I'll come back in and use just the bright red base color on the hat to soften up edges, or maybe if I overshaded something, I can lighten it up this way a bit, or mainly just soften it, like right through here. I could add a bit more red where it got really dark in that curl. Over here, maybe I could add a bit more red. Over here, I definitely have a really defined line here. I don't think that's a big deal, but I'll show you how you could just blend some red over the top. So I think in thinking about Kim's question, I don't think there really is a rule of thumb because I think so much of it is personal preference.
Yeah.
You know, like what's more...
like kind of your expressionism, I guess.
Yeah. I personally like...
I'm going to go across
I think people rely on black a little bit too much. I think what you do with black is different. You tint the other color so it works. But I think a lot of times people try to use black to do their shading. And I think that's more difficult than using just a darker tone of what you've already painted. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. Here.
I always have to say that as like a disclaimer.
If that makes sense.
Just in case.
Okay. Great. I'm going to now outline, as long as the red is dry enough, it should be, we can outline our heart. I didn't shade that one at all. I just did a standard outline with stitches. And I used my smallest brush, and color-wise, I just used that dark brown that I've been shading with. If you need to add a drop of water to it just to make it your paint go a little longer, you can. And I am just pressing down fairly light pressure, but I think it would be okay if you did a thicker outline. It ups the cuteness factor. So now it's outlined. And the stitches, I just do little lines that as we go around the heart, they're changing direction. So these ones are going to go upward. There. It doesn't have to look like it was stitched by an expert. He's just a little gnome with tiny little hands.
That means he could do it even better.
Probably. And if you need to touch up any of your snow, now would be a good time. I don't want to change it too much because I don't want it to be so white that it gets lost in the beard, which it's already kind of in danger of right now.
I actually just eliminated the snow in mine.
Yeah, you could do that. You could eliminate the snow, or you could mix up some gray like I'm doing right now and just add some streaks of gray on the outer edges of the beard just to separate it from the snow. So that's an option. I added a bit too much gray over here. Okay, now is the time I'm going to do that kaleidoscope thing I was talking about with the light. So for those who just joined, what I was telling earlier is that a lot of times lanterns have a thicker glass and you'll have the light inside, but it kind of does this almost kaleidoscope type of pattern where the light's kind of blurred out and you're just seeing colors. So I'll take my number 8 brush and I washed it and dried it off. And I'm just going to use the plain yellow. So to do this, we mixed white and yellow, but now we're just using just out of the bottle yellow. And you can dab some little dabs. I like to focus on the outer edges. I think like the middle would be probably really bright. In fact, you could even, just to give you some extra credit here, you could even take white, wash your brush and use white in the middle. Like that's the very hot part, the main, like if you look at a candle flame, that's the hottest part of the flame is that white area. And so, yeah, I didn't do that on this one, but I took us a little extra with this one. And that's what we did.
Extra credit.
Extra credit. Just like you're doing right now.
I'm not trying to one-up you, Jenny. Quit accusing me.
He is totally. He always does.
I'm not. I just paint. So this is the thing I think is important to know, though, is part of the reason we do paint it our way is so that people who are subscribers and follow us recognize that it's okay if your painting's different.
I can't wait to see what you paint if you paint tomorrow when you're on painkillers.
Well, that could be interesting because one of our most popular paintings ever was one that you did while on painkillers.
That's right. Years ago in like 2013. Okay, so now I'm going to decorate the gloves. And the reason I'm doing it now is because they need to dry before we start getting the yellow glow on here because otherwise you're going to smear all your decorations. These were very simple. I'm going to do something different on the new ones just to show you how you can do something different. But if you want to do these, I just use red and I use the handle end of my smallest brush. I stamped it in the red paint and I just did little polka dots all over. And you'll run out of paint after about 4 or 5 dots. And so you'll continue to stamp it in the paint and put it back on here. That's how we do the snowflakes in just a bit. But this time, I'm going to do something fancy. So I'm going to take my brush, and what color do I want to use? Yeah, I might use yellow, just because I have a lot of yellow. That's fresh paint here. And I'm going to do like this fun pattern. I think this is like very similar to like the Columbia sportswear pattern.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm just doing 2 little parallel lines that you can see they kind of come right up to the edge of the first ones. I don't even know how to describe it. But it's such a cool pattern and it's so easy. You're just painting a bunch of equals symbols.
They do a square with theirs.
Something.
Yeah, it's a square.
But look how fun that is. And it looks like so different than just the polka dots.
Kim says she's finally getting more confidence in herself to make changes, and that's because of us. Yay!
I love to hear that. Yeah, it's just the whole practice makes perfect thing is so accurate. And I've told people this over the years who come to the multiple classes that it's just a confidence that you need.
Yeah.
And the confidence comes from practice.
I know, like, one of the things I used to tell people who were not as happy with their paintings because they would be like, oh, it's not like yours. I didn't do exactly what you did, and they were insecure
Like,
about that.
come to my class tomorrow. You'll see I don't even do exactly what I did.
Well, actually, what I would tell them is like, I was like, well, following directions is not exactly like if I had to follow directions, I wouldn't be an artist because being an artist and like doing what we do, it's about finding new ways to do things. It's finding what works for you. And a lot of times people think, oh, there's a right and a wrong way, but there really isn't. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I mean, there might be theories and stuff that you can learn, like mostly compositional and color contrast. I know that there's bigger, more complicated theories than those three, but those three are kind of the basis.
Yep, indeed. So I've got my gloves decorated. I mean, I could keep going. I could have done stripes of this pattern. This is something you could do after you're all done. Just wait to put your yellow highlights if you do that. If you want to like decorate them tomorrow. Maybe you're tired tonight and your brain's fried from all the painting. Come back to it tomorrow and decorate the gloves then. I guess you'll have to do it like before our live stream tomorrow.
What?
Decorate the gloves if they do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do, this is a good time to do this, is I'm going to outline my lantern. Outline it with black, add the black triangle, and it's easy. We're going to do it. We'll go step by step. So for outlining, I'll use my number 8 brush using the thin edge of the brush. And I don't load up a ton of paint on my brush, just enough. And nice. That thin edge works so nice. I feel like I have better control with a flat brush for this sort of thing than I do with a round brush. How about you, Paul?
What are we doing?
When you do this sort of thicker outline?
Yeah. I do think so, because I think the flat brush tends to keep its shape a little better.
Yeah, and it kind of just goes in a line.
Yeah, it tends to track.
Yeah, it tracks. And then we'll go across here.
But if all you have is a round brush, it works too.
And this can be a nice thick outline because it's probably like some cast iron. Like Paul's made a really fancy lantern.
Not really.
You did.
No, I didn't.
But, okay, so I had this idea that I wanted to do. I wanted to turn it into an acorn, like do a little acorn-shaped lantern.
Ooh,
but then I thought, this painting would end up being 3 hours if I did all the things I really wanted to do. So I just kept it simple.
It is... The human attention span does not go 3 hours for this type of thing. That's something we've definitely learned teaching in person.
Mm-hmm. Sessions are good.
Yeah. Hour and a half to hour and 45 is kind of maxed out. Oh, we're at hour 47. Uh-oh.
I'm going to wash and dry this brush. And then I'll go to my small brush to do this really fine X pattern in the middle. You probably will want to set a drop of water down on your palette and then mix a little black paint into that. So it's nice and watery or fluid. Before you do anything, you've got a lot of paint on your brush, more than you need. Dry it off or wipe it off, wipe most of it off. Then just redip the tip of the bristles. And I'm using very little pressure, and I'm just going corner to corner. The white in the middle is still a little bit wet on mine, so it did drag through and turn slightly gray, but I think I can work with that because I think having it darker black on these outside edges and then lighten up in the middle is actually probably what it would really do in real life, because we got this white bright line shining through the middle. And then you can make the little hook that goes up from the top of this. You can just draw a straight line that goes right to the thumb, or if you want to go extra a little bit, you can curve it up and make it look like it hooks behind the rest of the hand there. It's hard to see. Let's zoom in real quick. I keep forgetting to do that. There you go. You can see that. I should have zoomed in when I did the pattern. I apologize. At one point I'll get used to this newfangled zoom in feature we have.
Modern technologies.
Just gonna touch up some of this. zoomed in now, I'm looking at the monitor. I can see like, oh, well, I forgot to connect that. Looks like I need a little more shading there. It's kind of like, as a woman, you do your makeup, get it all done, and you go outside and you look in the car mirror, and you're like, what?
They should
What is this?
They should just put car mirrors,
filters
inside in your house.
You're looking at your skin going, I didn't give you permission to age.
Wow, it's getting really chilly in here.
Yeah. Well, luckily we're almost in. Okay. You can go ahead and zoom out now, Paul. So hopefully when it's zoomed in, you can see that up close it doesn't look so hot. Because it's a painting, and it's a painting we do in, 2 hours. So it's if I were to spend multiple hours, 20, 25 hours doing a painting, then yeah, you can refine it. But when it's zoomed out, it looks great. It's like a Monet.
Yeah, I think that's like, I've criticized The Joy of Painting and Bob Ross, and I think one of the things that Bob did is he really did a good job misleading people into thinking you should be able to finish a painting in 30 minutes.
He can.
He can, or he could.
He could.
I can.
Okay, now...
But should I?
We are buying some drying time right here, and we have like just a couple more steps to do before we're done. This is a great time to do the nice little gentle snowfall that's happening. And we use the handle end of our smallest brush. And one thing to keep in mind is the snowflakes would go over like the hat and all that. But I would wait to put them over the gloves because we do some highlighting here. You can always add them later. So let's how about this? Let's do the snowflakes in the background and over the hat. And then we'll leave this and do snowflakes there when we're finally finishing up. So let's take the handle of the brush, stamp it in the white. Feels kind of weird putting it over the hat, not gonna lie. And then the key here, as I always say, try to avoid doing a pattern. So purposely put some dots right up next to the other. This is the same technique we do for stars. Last night, we always, I think I've mentioned we walk our dogs at night, and we were so excited we could see Orion constellation, which we haven't been able to see since like January.
Well, it's been kind of inching its way up. We've been able to see it for like a month, but last night it was really out there.
Yeah, our son, I think we've told you guys before, he's an adult. 22 years old on the Asperger autism spectrum. I was going to say syndrome. That's not the right word. And he gets excited by really cute things like seeing the Orion constellation. So we make a big deal about it. And that was fun. He was so excited to see it last night. So like, I'm like thinking, gosh, it's so nice to like be so happy over such a simple, like, I don't know. I love that. People should be happy over the simple things in life. Like, oh, Mars is out.
He was really into stars and stuff when he was younger for a while. We got a really cool telescope, which we haven't used in years, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, he walks with us every night. It's
Yeah.
part of his daily routine that he loves.
Yep.
Okay, so let's finish this guy up. He's looking great, and look how different the two look. Just slight differences in width and shape of the mustache and all that. This one maybe looks like he's smiling. He's got some inside joke. This one's a little like indifferent. And what I want to do real quick, because I almost forgot, is we want to do this stitch pattern that goes across the bottom of the hat, and it's so easy. It's easier than sewing it, for sure. You want to use your smallest brush and white paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come across the bottom about an inch, and then I go up about an inch. So if you ever buy fleece blankets, you'll notice the edges are usually done like this. So across again about an inch and then up an inch. And it's called a blanket stitch. My mom likes to make fleece blankets for Christmas gifts, and she showed me how to do this. It's pretty easy to do. Painting it's a little easier than sewing it. So it's almost like a bunch of very square U shapes. And just as you go across the top of the nose, you're gonna, you know, curve with the way the hat curves over the nose. I always think fleece blankets are such a fun gift to make for someone, but then if you go to look at fleece like by the yard, it's more expensive than buying a fleece blanket somewhere, which is distressing to me.
I was in Fred Meyer the other day, Jenny, and they had Christmas fleece blankets for $4.99.
Isn't that crazy? But if you buy fleece by the yard,
It's like $6 a yard.
No, it's like I was looking at Michael's. It was like $8 a yard.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many yards it takes to make a fleece blanket, but to me it's like seemed a little more
technically
expensive.
usually about one.
Okay, well that's not too bad then.
Because then usually the width on a roll, or what do they call it? A ream? Yeah, ream of fabric is usually 54 inches.
How do you know all this?
I grew up with a sewing mama. Used to go to the...
I grew up with a self-taught sewing mama that...
Hey, my mom had a knitting machine.
My mom did really good, and I just didn't really learn from her, just because I don't know, like other things. I was too into the art stuff. I made Barbie clothes. I remember doing that.
My mom made most of my clothes.
Okay, so now we have almost everything done, and we're down to adding the yellow highlights to the mustache and beard. And the mittens, we add a little highlighting to the lantern, but we're going to wait on that because mine's still a little bit wet, so yours probably is too. We put a highlight under here, and then we put a white shine down here too that brings it all together, and then we'll be all done. So, I'm going to go to my favorite brush, number 8. If you feel more comfortable, you can use your number 4. I haven't even used that in this painting at all. I have my white yellow mix, and that's what I'm going to use. This the plain yellow is almost a little too harsh, so I like to soften it up with some white. If you need to remix that color, it was 2 parts yellow, 1 part white, and you're just lightening it up to be, it's like a little bit darker than butter. It's like the margarine color from the 80s. And I'm going to wait on the mittens. I'm going to start just on the nose and the beard and mustache first. So you don't need a ton of paint on your brush. So if you loaded it up with a lot, just swipe it on your towel and knock excess paint off. Because we're just kind of tinting things. We don't want to have a bunch of paint that we have to figure out where it's all going to go. You just want to put a little on. So think about this lantern light. It's going to cast a light up here across the bottom of the nose. I'm kind of just doing a little smile shape here. Swirling my brush around just a bit, just to add a glow. It's all we're looking for, is just a little glow, and you can gradually add more and more as needed. Just don't turn his whole nose yellow. The bottom half is okay to be yellow, but yeah, you don't want to turn the whole nose yellow. And then for the beard and mustache, you can use a little more paint than we did here. And I'm going to go across the bottom edge of the mustache in short little choppy, streaky brush strokes. I hope you guys post some of your pictures. Can't wait to see them over the next few days.
Certainly.
So there, I've got the bottom edge of the mustache, and now you're going to get some highlighting here and the beard in between the mittens and around the edges, especially close to the lantern. Right through here, definitely. Maybe not so much under the lantern as much, but along the sides for sure. And now, just like you can add as much of this as you want. You can make it really lightened up if you like. But just like how we did the nose, how I said we kind of tinted it and we didn't want a lot of paint on our brush, that's the same with the mittens. So wipe any excess paint off. It can even look like you have next to no paint on your brush. And you're gonna come along this bottom edge here, where think about where the lantern light hits. And here too, maybe a little over here. This time around, I guess I have about the same amount of glove showing, or mittens. And then the bottom edge of the thumb, right, or this inside edge, I guess I should say, you would have a little highlight. And yes, you'll brush kind of right over some of your decorations, which is sad, I know. But it looks funny without the highlight on since we have the beard all highlighted. And now for the lantern, I just kept very simple highlights. That you can either use the thin edge of this brush or your smallest brush. And I came across like the top here, just in the black area, with just a short line that's not even really connected to anything. It's just on the black. And then I'll do a little short line here, just to indicate that, yeah, we know the light would reflect against this black metal structure. And you can even do a little highlight along here if you want, or along here.
You know, this is the first time we haven't seen the Skamania Lodge Christmas tree in like 8 years. It's sad.
It is sad. Just don't think about it.
Shout out to our friends at Skamania Lodge. We miss you guys. We'll come up and visit sometime soon.
You know, I'm going to use my number 4 brush because I haven't used it at all, and this is a perfect opportunity to use it. I'm going to do the white shine on the bottom of the nose. So I'm going to dip the brush in water because it has that special coating on it for new brush coating. My water is grayish purple. And I dried it off. And yeah, we'll just use white a little bit. See, let's zoom in, Paul. I don't have much white on my brush at all. And we're going to come across here, right inside the nose part. Using the thin edge of the brush, just do a little white slash there. And you can leave it like that, but sometimes I like to do another little bit over here. Like that. And now would be the time to go back and look at anything that maybe you has dried, and maybe it's when it dried it revealed that you need to do a second coat or something. This is the time to go back in and have a look at those things. You can zoom out probably now, Paul. So yeah, I just see a couple areas here where I'd like to crisp up my outline. And now you can go back to your snowflakes and add them wherever you want, over the beard, over the mittens, over the lantern. So the snow is falling as it would over the whole picture. And you could even put some down here. And then your last and final step is to sign your painting with your littlest brush, or a Sharpie marker works perfect. I signed my Spider-Man painting for my friend with a Sharpie marker, so I was like, I've got it all done and I don't want to redo anything, and I could botch my signature with the paintbrush, so I'm using a Sharpie. But if you do sign it with the paintbrush, just use whatever color you want, just kind of water it down a little bit so your brush is more fluid. Wipe your brush so you don't have a ton of paint on it. Maybe redip the very tip of the bristles in paint. And then make your signature.
I'm victorious!
You might zoom out just a little bit so we can see yours when I pop it over here. There we go. Oh, I was going to show this month's sticker is so cute. This is a painting that I did for our live studio. Gosh, it was like 2013.
Been a while.
And it's two little cardinals, and they're so cute. I love this painting. It was one of my favorites. Fun one to teach, too. Okay, let's see Paul's.
Mine's haggard.
Yours looks like a biker.
He does kind of.
So yeah, he was talking about how he uses purple for shading a lot of times, and he definitely did that on the nose. You can see that. He added the fur, so his definitely looks like Santa. And he added the little lower lip, made his lantern.
I added a nostril too.
Over here?
On the other side.
Over here? Oh, so I see. You've got like, I see. He's got a very bulbous nose.
Well, I just had some gaps in there, and I was like, let's just add a little extra dimension to that.
Oh, see you, Kim. Thank you so much. I just saw your message that your granddaughter got it. Thank you so much for joining. We'll see you tomorrow night. Yeah, so if you guys are around and available, you want to watch a little bit of painting, even if you just pop in for a few minutes and check it out. Tomorrow night, this is the one that will be taught. It's the snow globe. And has a little North Pole in there, but I think you could put anything. You put a little gnome there if you want. Now that you know how to paint them.
Did you read the instructions?
Yeah.
So I even had like an optional, like you could add penguins ice skating on the lake or whatever. Santa fly in his sleigh, whatever. I might add some penguins on the lake. Just
fun.
It won't be hard. It's literally going to be like a dot. So, we should probably zoom back out.
Yeah, we'll say our goodbyes. It's getting cold in here.
It is getting cold in here. Here we is.
Thank you guys for joining us again for another painting. We've really enjoyed this last year of doing paintings with you guys and the friendships we made online. It's so weird now than just making friendships online and seeing everybody back in here. It's weird.
Last year,
weird in a very good way.
We've been doing this for 3 years, but the last year definitely we've seen people participate.
Yeah. So, again, if you want to join our Facebook group page, you don't have to be a subscriber or a member of GoBox or anything. You can just go find it on Facebook. Yep. GoBox Art Crate. You just... I don't even know if you ask permission to enter now, or because it seems like it just lets people in. At one point, I know we had to grant permission, but yeah, join the page. Check out everybody's
Either
work.
that or we've both been really bad at granting people permission because I haven't been doing it.
I haven't been doing it. No, they get in. So I think it's changed that way. But yeah, we will see you guys tomorrow night for Snow Globe, 5:30 p.m. Portland Standard, Pacific Standard Time.
It works.
We'll see you here with your same colors.
Yep, same colors, same supplies, and hopefully not too loopy of a pole.
Yes, getting a root canal tomorrow. So I may be teaching it. We'll see.
We'll see. All right, guys.
Bye.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.